Hello there, lovelies, and welcome back. Today, I just want to talk to you about some of the struggles that I hear women have with trying to moderate their drinking, because I think it's always a goal when you're drinking too much in that sort of grey area zone where you think that if you get it under control and you can moderate, then everything will be fine. But kind of the problem with it is that unless you deal with the underlying issue of why you're drinking, you generally will go round in the same circle, coming back to drinking more. And one of the problems with moderation is that it creeps up. So I'll tell you about my own experience, and clients have all been very, very similar. Is you have that moment like I did, where I thought, God, I'm drinking a bit too much here. This is getting a little bit too much of a regular habit. I knew I wasn't an alcoholic. I knew I was managing, but I still had this kind of uncomfortable feeling that there was just too much of it going on. So my first thought was, let's moderate. And whilst I tried, inevitably, I mean, if you're used to drinking a bottle of wine when you open it, the possibility of just having one, even if it's one large one, is pretty difficult. And part of the reason can be sometimes how you drink. So, 1 unit of alcohol in a glass is actually really, really small. So, and what we do is we, had a bad day, fill the glass up, and you drink it at the speed of light. So the alcohol is in your body. So any ability that you have to take control over what's happening completely evaporates, because alcohol is then in control. So moderation is difficult from that physical aspect of how much you're drinking, but it's from an emotional perspective. Unless you are getting to the bottom of your emotional reasons for drinking and changing those habits, then it's always going to be a problem. Now, when I work with women, one of the things that I always do is I always say, yes, you can moderate, but try being sober for a period of time. Try being sober for, say, a year. Just give yourself a year so that you get through all of the, annual events. You do a Christmas and birthdays and holidays, so that you know how to live without alcohol. And then ask yourself, do you want to moderate? I mean, my hope would always be that you don't, because life's too good without it. But one of the things I realised relatively sort of maybe about 2 or 3 years after I stopped drinking is that I know now that if I wanted to moderate, it would be really easy for me to do that. Now, that might sound a bit shocking coming from me. If you know me, I am a committed, I love my sober life. There's no way I'm ever giving it up. But what I've realised is, and this is the important thing, I don't care about alcohol one way or the other. I'm not bothered by alcohol. I don't care if it's there. I don't care if it's not. I generally choose not to socialise around it, just because people become a bit boring. But for my own personal choice, I have dealt with all of my anxieties, all the stuff that kept me drinking. And now I just think, well, why would I? Because this is lovely. This is a wonderful place to be. So I would encourage you to just ask yourself about what's the goal of moderation. I've seen women trying it, and generally they just find it exhausting, because if you stick to the apparent kind of 14 units a week, then you are in a constant state of counting and negotiating with yourself, because you will be counting every day, how many did I have last night? and then thinking, oh well, it's the weekend, I'll hang on to some so I can have a good drink at the weekend. And that becomes your next step to going back to drinking regularly. It's just the way it works. And because if you're not dealing with the underlying issues of why you drink and what it's all about and the emotional impact that it's having on you, then it's always going to be a problem, whether you moderate or whether you don't. So my advice today is, and you know me, from a most loving thing perspective, when you are in your kitchen and you're about to open the bottle and you're thinking about having a drink, just say to yourself, what is the most loving thing I could do for myself in this moment? Because I can guarantee you, if you're watching this, you already know that alcohol is a problem. So the most loving thing will never be to have alcohol. Yes, if you want to moderate, give it some time. Learn how to be sober first. Then consider moderation. I'm not judgy, I don't care. If that's the way you want to live, that's fine. But don't try it too soon, because if you're not dealing with the roots of why, if you're not looking at it from changing your habits and changing your perspective on alcohol and what it means to you, then it's always going to be a problem. So here's a little journal prompt from me, which is, when I am sober, my life will be ... Fill that in, because once you start to imagine what your sober life will be like, it makes it a lot more real. I hope that's been helpful. Check out the description box below. There are links to my book, a 10-day reset, and there's also a free reflective guide. So help yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Lots of love.